And sometimes it sucks to do hard things, but you're gonna do it anyways. Hello, I'm Jordan. This is Reese. I'm gonna try not to wake her up. She's sleeping, or she's resting anyways. And I wanted to put this video out there because I have some plans for the year. And I'm probably going to call this something like, this is stupid, but I'm doing it anyways. And this is also maybe like the more than the first time that I've recorded this. And that's because I have a lot of thoughts and I just don't know how to convey that in a very concise manner. One of the New Year's resolution, big New Year's plans for 2023 was to kind of take the things that I've been saying for years that I'll do someday and actually do them. One of which was redoing my office, which it's spiffy. The other was I wanted to do a bodybuilding competition. Just a little bit of background. About 10 years ago, when I stopped swimming competitively, and about a year into not doing anything competitively for a bit, I got bored, for lack of a better word. I wanted to get back into competing, but I didn't know how to be competitive outside of high school. And I think I stumbled across bodybuilding competitions and I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe one day I'll do that. That was forever ago. That was the first inkling of an idea of maybe one day I'll do a bodybuilding competition. Very long time ago, 10 years ago. Bikini is not what it was 10 years ago, but that was the inkling of an idea I had forever ago. And about 3 years ago, I finally decided, hey, I can make nutrition a part of my routine. I can make going to the gym a part of my routine. I can be more routine in my day-to-day life now at this point. This is after college. This is once I had settled into my job. At that point, 3 years ago, the pandemic happened. Kind of messed up my routine quite a bit. But if you look at when I started weight training 5 years ago, pandemic, overtraining, getting a coach, training with intent, training with purpose, I've come a long way in the past 2 years. And even before training with my coach, I was training a little bit more with a plan. That being said, I didn't know how to train glutes. So we reached out to a coach anyways. So we look at that point. That point when, okay, I'm training with intent. This is the point where I'm like, okay, now I actually think I want to do this. Two and a half years ago, roughly. Looking at that point, comparing that to now, I've come a really long way. And I think now is the time to finally capitalize on that inkling of a thought that I had 10 years ago. If you look at where I am in my bodybuilding journey, my weightlifting journey, whatever you want to call it, do I think that I'm ready for a competition in the sense that do I have enough mass? No. Do I think that I'm competitive? Maybe. I don't know. I've never done it, so I don't know. But I think that I'm at the position where now's the time, if any, to get in front of a judge and see what that feedback is on my physique, on what I need to do to improve, to continue in this sport. I am going to say that I'm not necessarily afraid of prepping. I'm not necessarily afraid of my feedback, but I think that before I put on too much mass is probably a good time to get in front of a judge for that feedback. But I think that before I put on too much mass is probably a good time to get in front of a judge for that feedback. I trust my coach. I even trust my eyes to some extent about knowing where I'm lacking and where I need improvement, where maybe I'm fine. I can trust that. But that being said, I do think now is a really good time, especially since I've been training with intent for about 2 years. By the time I get on stage, it'll be 2 years. I'm going to put my starting stats here because I think this video is a really good place to kick off the documenting of this prep journey. So these are my starting stats. I have already started prep. That being said, my prep week 1 is very similar to my not prep because my tentative show is pretty far out. So prep really, it has started, but it hasn't, you know. Some of my fears going into my first show, I'm afraid of what people will think. I do feel a little bit like a poser. I think because, and this is maybe just a me thing, I think I feel like a poser because what I see competing are mostly people who are super involved in Instagram. And that's maybe because that's the only thing I'm aware of. Like I see that on YouTube too, but the people that are popular on YouTube with this sport are also popular on Instagram. And I know it's an aesthetics based sport, so I know that that's going to happen. But I'm not aware of very many people who put their life out there and have full-time jobs elsewhere, because that's not their job, you know? I'm not aware of very many people in my situation going into the NPC, first show, full-time job, sitting on their ass, you know? So that's not something I'm aware of. So I feel very much like an outsider. And I don't think that's the case. I think there are people, probably a ton of people like in my position, same as me, full-time job is working at a desk. This is their hobby. I'm sure there are a ton of people out there like that. I'm just not aware of them. So I think going to a show, I do hope to meet people in my similar situation. So yeah, I'm afraid of feeling like an outsider. That being said, I think that's not really the case. So I shouldn't feel that way, but I kind of still do. That's fine. I'm afraid of what my friends and family will think. Coming from someone who 3 years ago crashed really, really hard, fell into overtraining, lost a whole bunch of weight and a whole bunch of strength, seeing me potentially do that again to my body, I'm afraid of what people will think. I do find comfort in the fact that I have a therapist, I have a coach, I have even skills in place from the last time that I fell pretty far to not do that again. And I also find comfort in the fact that I'm not losing weight for just the sake of losing weight. I'm not losing weight for the sake of getting skinnier. I'm losing weight because it's what I need to do in order to achieve the goal of stepping on stage and getting feedback to be better. I also find comfort in the fact that if I hate this, I don't have to do it again. But again, this is something that I've maybe wanted to do for about 10 years, so I'm excited to do it. And I'm hoping I like it. But if I hate it, I don't have to do it again. And I can still bodybuild without competing. Lots of people do that. If competing's not for you, then competing's not for you. And maybe that'll be me. But I don't know until I try. And I feel like I put a lot of effort, several years worth of effort, into maybe competing someday, and then to not do it, I need to try it. So I am a little bit excited and also a little bit fearful of that. And I'm very fearful about post-show. I'm very fearful of that rebound. I'm very fearful of feeling uncomfortable in my body to the sake that I don't recognize it. Like it feels foreign looking in the mirror. I'm afraid of that because I've been there. But I find comfort in the fact that I've been there, and that's a very temporary feeling. And one day you'll feel comfortable in a larger body again, and that'll be fine. Like here I am sitting 15 pounds up from where I was 3 years ago, and I'm more comfortable now than I was 3 years ago in my body. It's a very temporary feeling, that like looking at yourself in the mirror and just like, whoa, that's not me. And it feels like, whoa, it's not me because you've changed so quickly. And change isn't necessarily a bad thing. For me, change was a good thing. And getting down to stage lean, stepping on a stage, maybe I'll feel pride in that moment, proud of the hard work that I've done. Maybe stepping on stage is just a piece of what I need to do to be better and be better next time. And challenging myself in that way, like to get down to that point to then challenge myself back up. I think that's going to be a really good mental challenge for me. And at this point in my journey, I think I'm actually ready for it. And I probably wasn't a year ago. I definitely wasn't 2 years ago. So I think this is a really good challenge for me at this point in my journey. And I'm excited about that. Now we'll see how excited I am when it comes time to reverse, because at that point I'll be so fatigued with the whole process. It might be really hard to mentally embrace the fact that things are going to probably get harder. But like I said, I think that I have like boundaries set in place, checkpoints along the way that I'm willing to, ask myself, if this is worth pursuing further. And then at any point I can drop out. And there's no problem with pulling out of a competition. There's no problem with pulling the plug on a prep. I know that there's not a problem with that. The competitive nature in me says, though, that sports are hard and sometimes it sucks to do hard things, but you're going to do it anyways because you're competitive and you want to be competitive. And I think that's where I'll have a little bit of difficulty, because I have, the side of me that says, hey, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with not doing this, especially if it's crossing your boundaries. And then there's the part of me that says, no, shit's sometimes hard. Do it.
Do it.
So I'm a little bit torn on that. But that being said, there's emotional checkpoints that I've set in place with like my therapist, and I'll talk about with my coach, that if that boundary is crossed, if that line is crossed, it's time to pull the plug. And I have physical boundaries as well there that I've talked about, that I've like thought about for myself, that I'll communicate again with my coach. And having those boundaries in place is a really good like safeguard to putting myself back in the position that I was in 3 years ago, which I don't want to do. So I'm excited. I'm scared, and it's fine. And I'm like afraid of what people will think, but it doesn't matter because I'm doing this for me. And I'm excited. So we're gonna chunk this into pieces, and we're gonna document how I'm feeling along the way. Thanks for listening, and we're gonna do this, and I'm excited about it.